My stalker is Shannon, better known as Creepshow Art, and what I believe to be her current husband, Anthony Parker.
I have talked a lot online about taking criticism when it's handed to you and responding to it well. And I feel like if I didn't do that, I would be the biggest hypocrite in the hippo farm.
And the pain that I felt knowing this person that I had talked to and trusted and really liked, knowing what they were doing behind the scenes was really difficult.
Like, it was difficult to internalize or accept the possible new reality of, oh yeah, this person actually, they weren't who you thought they were.
Hey, it's your Uncle Herman here, and I'm still an alpha male. Today I'm going to be talking about Creepshow Art, a popular commentary channel that's been thriving in the YouTube sphere for the past few years. The channel is run by an artist called Shannon, who gained a reputation for commenting over videos of her doing unrelated art, and as she got more popular, she started to use other people's art to promote them on her channel. Shannon's name has come up a lot recently as people are starting to uncover questionable things that she's allegedly been writing on the popular web forum Lolcow. Lolcow is an online gossip forum where people post anonymously about internet personalities, and for years it's been a place where people have been posting both favourably and unfavourably about Creepshow Art. The forum has moderators who moderate its use and keep it abiding to its set of rules, which state that users should not say, do or threaten to do anything illegal. All users are expected to contribute in a constructive way and are discouraged from posting low quality comments and images, and they are not allowed to use lolcow.farm for attention or profit, or to deceptively post about yourself in the third person for any reason. So with that in mind, let's see how Shannon of Creepshow Art allegedly broke these rules and dug her own internet grave using this Lolcow forum. The allegations that came out against Creepshow Art originated from one of the Lolcow moderators, who traced Shannon's alleged IP address to many different posts that went against many of their rules, including posting about herself in the third person, using the forum for attention or profit, using it to promote herself, and using offensive and harmful language. So let's condense what we know about the Lolcow posts. Shannon has allegedly been posting on Lolcow since around 2018, and has been outed as posting on there by moderators supposedly as punishment for pretending to be both her own fans and haters on the site. The moderator wrote, "As many users in this thread are aware, Shannon's posts on Lolcow haven't exactly been subtle. We've decided to compile her post history after she escalated her behaviour by sharing her sister's social media in order to deflect from criticism towards herself. Beyond that, she's been anonymously promoting her videos and Patreon/YouTube membership to users and making posts about herself to either white knight or insult herself. For many years we've had a policy to reveal post histories of users who go to great lengths to use lolcow.farm to propel their own online presence." According to the thread, when her sister was in the ICU, Shannon posted her social media to Lolcow, trying to have her attacked for being too much of a social justice warrior. She posted insults towards people who considered her a friend, such as D'Angelo Wallace, Ready to Glare, and Hopeless Peaches, and has also called people fat, autistic, ugly, and as insults. Creepshow's alleged posts have all been compiled on Lolcow, which I will link below, but reading through them is just a very strange experience. She's written things such as, "Shannon said a couple times online that she doesn't drink and neither does her husband. I only remember because she used it as an I'm not like other girls weird flex." A strange third person insult/fact check. It seems like she's going to great lengths to defend her reputation online, but also insult herself, I guess to get sympathy. In relation to her sister, she wrote in the third person, "The gist was Shannon's sister is in the hospital for something, we don't know what, and she put her as her emergency contact. However, when Shannon reached out to her to try and figure out what was going on, her sister blocked her and said she was invading her privacy. She also said something along the lines that her family was neglecting her, even though Shannon had reached out. It's really weird. A couple years ago I found her sister's Twitter because she talked about it in a story time, and she's definitely insane." Again, it would be really weird for some anonymous fan to have all of this information, so I sort of agree with the moderators that it's not very subtle, but it is still very strange. There's another post saying, "An unknown YouTuber posts this video about Shannon and within minutes it's on Lolcow even though it barely has views. This is such an obvious self-post, it's sad you're trying to defend it." Again, here she's criticising someone for doing the exact thing that she seems to be doing, which is self-posting. She can also be seen posting screenshots from her Patreon, talking about her upcoming videos, and engaging in threads about both herself and other commentary YouTubers. It just seems strange to me that someone would take the time out of their day to write about themselves in the third person. I can see how being anonymous online can be enticing as someone who is anonymous myself, but all of these posts really do point to someone who is in a little too deep. What I find most interesting are the posts that insult Creepshow, such as confirmation that Shannon's own friends don't even like her. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but if this is her, it seems like maybe she's purposely creating posts that seem like they could never be from herself, to deter people from thinking that it's her posting, unless she's into self-deprecation on anonymous forums. Either way, it seems like a very damaging and taxing way to be spending your own time. After these screenshots started circulating, Shannon posted to her YouTube community tab denying that any of the posts were hers and claiming that her stalker was running this Lolcow account. She wrote that after being sent screenshots of what I allegedly said about me, myself, my friends, and most importantly my relatives, I realised what had happened. A couple years back I made a video about how I'd been stalked for over 8 years by a woman called Amy. That's not her real name because I was protecting her identity. I talked in detail about that situation, how it affected me, and what I had to do in that situation to keep myself safe. But I also discussed how Amy and I kind of reconciled at the end of that and came to an understanding. She even liked the video and supported me making it. We kept in contact over the past couple years and I thought I kept a good amount of distance between us, never letting her close enough to hurt me again. Obviously I was wrong because she's gone back to doing what she's always done, which is try to hurt me, try to turn the people in my life against me and salivate at the idea of me losing everything. She did this for years, even when I didn't have anything, to the point where when I was dating my husband, she sent him text messages telling him I was horrible and that he should leave me. She made fake Facebook accounts to tell people about what a terrible person I was, and she just spent years f***ing with me non-stop, to the point where I just wanted to end it. I had a sneaking suspicion that she'd been going back to this earlier this year when I started receiving more and more images of abuse in my inbox, because that was one of the biggest things that she would do to me. I didn't want to believe it though, because I'm a polarizing creator and some people on the internet just don't have boundaries. It's why I had to shut down my Instagram and low-key why I had to shut down Twitter. I've stated publicly and behind the scenes that the amount of harassment I've received has gone down by 100% when I deleted Twitter, and now I know why, because of Amy. The last time we emailed, it had been lovely, with her catching me up on my life and me doing the same back. I didn't know she was going to use everything to try and paint me as something I'm not, and I didn't think I needed to use a VPN so that she wouldn't get my IP address. She'd shown me pictures of her daughter and been so supportive of my channel. I thought we were okay, but I was wrong. She's been posting on certain sites, posing as me, spoofing my IP, doxing my family members, writing things about myself and my friends, sending me death threats from other accounts, making false accounts to spam my comment sections, spamming the comment sections of my friends, saying hateful things about me in order to get them to drop me, and just all round doing what she did years ago. That's not it, of course, but the amount of time and energy she's put into this is well beyond what I thought she was capable of, and as far as I can tell, she's been doing this for well over a couple of years. That's not to say I haven't messed up or been rightfully criticised, mind you. I'm not blaming her for people being critical of me. I don't know how she did it, I don't know why she did it, but the moment my relative was brought up out of the blue, I knew it was her. She has literally always been obsessed with my relative, to the point of constantly bringing them up in our conversations, asking me about them, and using them to hurt me even in high school. So the next day Shannon posted to her Instagram saying that she was handling the situation legally and would not post online until she can prove without a shadow of a doubt what occurred was not her doing. So we have two accounts here, a moderator who seems to be set on exposing Shannon, and Shannon herself, who's put forward this story about Amy in order to defend herself, neither of which can be 100% confirmed to be true. So what is making people believe that the IP address is in fact Shannon's? Well, Lolcow has information available about how they track their users' IP addresses using cookies, and in Shannon's community post she wasn't so much denying that the IP address was hers as much as she was denying that it was her using it. So though I do believe in innocent until proven guilty, the evidence is currently pointing towards the post coming from Creepshow Art herself. But a lot of these posts on Lolcow are about Creepshow's previous dramas and controversies with other creators, most notably with an art channel called Hopeless Peaches, and so for context I'll go slightly into that backstory now. Hopeless Peaches and Creepshow Art are both part of the artist commentary community on YouTube and have collaborated once in the past. However, a feud sparked when Shannon of Creepshow Art tweeted in December last year, "Before I hit 100k, I was friends with another creator. This creator later spread lies about me, told people I was psychotic, and I screamed at her and basically poisoned potential friendships with other people in the art community." She then went on to name Hopeless Peaches, saying, "This tweet was about Hopeless Peaches," finding out that she'd told multiple creators who she knew I admired that I had screamed at her and attacked her when I viewed her as a little sister. Being sucked. Creators then started to side with Shannon against Hopeless Peaches, most notably a creator called Prisonmate Luke, who had been making videos prior to Shannon's tweets airing his problems with Hopeless Peaches' online presence. Shortly after this, Shannon released a video titled "Hopeless Peaches Needs to Stop." In this video, Shannon accuses Hopeless Peaches of lying in her DMs about her personal life and then spreading lies to other creators.
In some part of my head, I thought I had deserved it. I thought even though I could prove she was actively lying about me and I showed that to other people, that somehow I had really been responsible and I had made her do what she did to me. The mental backflips I had to do in order to come to that end result is a lot, but it's me. I will classically always find a reason to blame myself for other people's issues, other people's faults, other people's actions against me, especially if it means keeping them in my life.
Shannon talks about how they were good friends online initially, and allegedly Hopeless Peaches would talk about how she was being harassed online by a larger creator that she would not name, but Shannon supposedly found nothing to support this during their friendship and accuses Hopeless Peaches of using this situation as a way to try and gain sympathy from Shannon. Shannon uses screenshots of DMs and tweets about personal and fairly petty drama between the pair. I'm not saying that either person in this situation was in the right. There was clearly a lot of miscommunication, indirect tweets, and supposed lies about their relationship. Shannon also accuses Hopeless Peaches of copying her content and uploading similar videos to hers just days after her uploads, and talking about her behind her back. After watching the entire video that Shannon made, I don't know why any of this was made public by either creator. It seems like two people had a small falling out and then decided to publicly slander each other, which ended up making the entire situation way bigger than it was initially. Shannon played the victim of Hopeless Peaches' alleged lies in this video, which prompted Hopeless Peaches to release their version of events.
Shannon claims I was using her for views and subscriber growth and was jealous of her, then goes on to claim how I got angry at her when her video did not do well being aired on her channel, and then proceeded to gaslight her into believing she was the one who was angry. She would insist I copied her content, that I used her, that I ruined her reputation within the community, and the final big claim: after her Jaclyn Hill video she made on March 3rd of 2020, I blocked her and began slandering her name, spreading her personal information, sent waves of people to attack and harass her, and pushed Toby Majestic into making a slanderous video about her. This story changes a lot between retellings too. Shannon has not shown proof for a single one of her claims regarding herself outside of the claims I have already agreed with her to be true. The claims that are true, I soft-blocked Shannon and I made 2 tweets about it. A lot of Shannon's other claims are more just ad hominem, which leads me to feel there was little to no good faith here, which, if intentional or not, does not sit right with me considering these are supposed to be scripted videos that have been written, checked, recorded, and edited. How do such character attacks go through so many checks and still not get picked up on or changed? I do not know. Shannon, as well as Luke, uses a lot of ad hominem to attack my character instead of presenting their side of the situation calmly with the facts and evidence they have. This is a means of discrediting me before I could even speak my side, whether that was a defense or an apology. Claiming I am scummy, jealous, a clout chaser, manipulative, a liar, all of this isn't criticism, it's an attack.
And so recently, Hopeless Peaches has come forwards with more evidence in light of the leaked Lolcow posts. It does beg the question of whether Shannon ever did love Hopeless Peaches as she said she did, and foster a good friendship with her, as if these posts are indeed hers, it tells us a slightly different story.
The 10th of March, 2020. If you look into it on her Twitter, she's full on slamming CSA non-stop now because it's popular. She copied Creepshow's entire channel, and now she's saying she hates her. If I was full on slamming Shannon, I'm sure Shannon would have had more screenshots of that instead of 2 clearly mentally unstable vague tweets when she was accusing me of this like way back in December. Though, I guess Amy is Team Shannon here and wants to big her up. She has 10,000 subscribers and acts like a baby. Okay, brace yourself. She then replies to herself with, I agree, what a fucking slime. She replies again with, I looked more into it and it's definitely Creepshow. Creepshow made an SJW bullshit Woman's Day post yesterday and included her, probably not knowing any of this. Creep even says she was a 4Kids Creepshow Art in her post and didn't even like it or respond. She based her entire personality and YouTube life on her and now she hates her for seemingly no reason. Let's move on. So here is now kind of one of those that kind of cements this as Shannon's account. I wanted to stay saying alleged, and I will for legal reasons, but to me, in my opinion, I think it's Shannon.
Overall, even though this situation is very he said, she said, as are most social media back and forths, it does point to a pattern of inconsistencies in Shannon's stories. If we are to take the Lolcow post to be her own, which many people are, it makes her out to be an incredibly hateful individual with way too much time on her hands to be backstabbing people on anonymous forums. I think what we can learn from the Hopeless Peaches situation is that Shannon has a pattern of alleged manipulative and untrustworthy behaviour. The next big piece of information to drop against Shannon was a video made by creator Emily Artful. On June 12th, Emily Artful posted a 2-hour expose on Creepshow Art titled "Creepshow Art Has Always Been This Way," in which she details how she was allegedly stalked, harassed and threatened by Shannon and her husband. Emily did not know who her stalker was for a very long time, and in light of new information now believes it to be Shannon of Creepshow Art and her husband Anthony, who was Emily's ex-boyfriend.
If you're not familiar with who I am, I have been making art content here on YouTube for the past 6 years. For the majority of those 6 years and several years prior, I had been facing stalking, harassment, and threats from one very recognizable source. For many years, I had no idea who this person was. I had speculations, but they were pretty far off. And because of that, I had to endure that abuse. I went to the police. I was turned away. I spoke to an attorney. They told me it's not going to be worth it taking it to court. I even went as far as hiring a private investigator for a short period of time, and he said the same thing. The PI and the attorney advised me that I needed to start taking screenshots of everything that I could and keeping track of what was happening to me. This story is long, so I recommend you watch it at 1.5 speed if you can. It's long because this stalking campaign has lasted the better part of a decade. And while I didn't know who my stalker was before, now I know who my stalker is. My stalker is Shannon, better known as Creepshow Art, and what I believe to be her current husband, Anthony Parker, who is also my abusive ex-partner. This has been my life. This has been the thing that has terrified me, that has kept me up at night. It was incredibly difficult, but also incredibly cathartic. And Shannon, Anthony, if you're watching this, you have no idea what you guys have done to me.
The story is a long and complicated one, so I'll do my best to summarize it for you, but if you want the whole story, I will link Emily's video below. So it started when Emily had broken up with Anthony, who is Shannon's current husband. Both were musicians, and Anthony sent her a track with Shannon's voice on it. Emily said that it didn't sound good and that her voice would be better, which she admits was not a comment that she's proud of, and this seems to start a chain of events. Emily was invited to be back on the track, and when she started working with Anthony, who was now seeing Shannon, she started to get some strange Facebook friend requests. She was eventually locked out of her Facebook account that she'd had since she was a minor, and in this account's chat history were explicit images of both her as an adult and as a minor. These photos then ended up in a photo bucket account, and someone started to use them from this account to threaten Emily. Emily then allegedly got fired from multiple jobs by someone who would find out where she was working and send compromising videos and images to her place of work, giving them reason to fire her. This someone Emily now believes to be Anthony, with potentially Shannon's help or at least endorsement, though Shannon's involvement in this cannot be proven at this point. Another detail that I find interesting as someone who's watched Shannon's videos in the past is the way that Shannon's talked about being homeless and how this was a large struggle in her past.
The reason I stopped making content like that was because the overwhelming response I got from people who weren't homeless and had never been homeless was that I was milking it for pity points and that I was using it for, quote, clout, which is genuinely so incredibly discouraging and also hurtful. But even more so, I find the general idea of like homelessness equates to social status so laughable when you actually think about how much work goes into homeless people trying to fit in and trying in earnest to not let people know they are homeless. Do you know how many people I lied to and did not tell I was homeless to while I was homeless because I didn't want their pity and I didn't want like any of that, because it's so utterly dehumanizing to have people look at you once you say I'm homeless, because all you see is intense pity and like you failed as a person.
But Emily brings to light a video of Anthony's that heavily implies that they were actually homeless by choice, which points to yet another lie or manipulation of the truth by Shannon online.
So Shannon was never technically quote unquote homeless. I mean, she was without a home, but in the traditional sense, her and Anthony were homeless by choice. And I know that because listen to what Anthony says in this video he posted on his YouTube channel in August of last year.
So in this video, I wanted to go over what it was like to be homeless, or kind of partially be homeless, living out of a car for about 2.5, 3 years or so. And keep in mind, this was a conscious decision to do this. We didn't get evicted and thrown out on the street or something like that. We planned for this for about 6 months to about a year or so. And I also thought it would be kind of fun to go over the recording rig that I had kept while we were living out of the cart, and how I managed timing and working on headphones and a computer in the public library just during their operating hours. Around 2015 or so, a few friends and I decided that it was a good idea to try and save rent money by moving into our cars, essentially. We weren't too happy living in California, and the rent is atrociously high, and it's just getting higher. The culture there is it's kind of pathetic. I mean, because what's weird about San Jose specifically, and a lot of the the southern parts of Silicon Valley. There's not really a dominant culture there. It's especially amongst millennials. It's a lot of, I've always described it as different subsets of millennials LARPing and trying to turn Campbell and South San Jose into something that it's not. And more specifically, I would meet, I don't know, an actor or something like that who wants to pretend that it's LA, or I'd meet a pretentious goth girl who wants to act like it's San Francisco and is kind of pissed off that it's not really San Francisco. And I'd meet these redneck kind of characters that want to pretend that it's Alabama or something like that. And I'm like, well, you grew up like 5 blocks away from me. Like, it's not.
And to be fair, I don't know if Shannon has ever clarified that they were homeless by choice, but from what I'm reading, it seems like anytime she got called out, she would use her homelessness and the hardships she went through while being homeless as kind of like an excuse for her behavior. So I don't know if she ever clarified that it was by choice.
So then in the timeline of events, Emily started her YouTube channel, Emily Artful, and she did not know who Shannon was at this time. She started a series called Sketchbook Storytime where she would do commentary over art, and then started to notice a lot of people in the comments comparing her to Creepshow Art, a newer channel who was using the same format and the same name for her series, and so Emily reached out.
Hi Shannon, my name is Emily and I have a channel on YouTube called Emily Artful. It's been brought to my attention that you have a series with the exact same name as a series I created 3 years ago called Sketchbook Storytime. I'm going to guess this was most likely 100% by accident or by coincidence, but I put my heart and soul into my series and I'd really appreciate if you were able to change the name of your Storytime videos. You are completely within your right not to, as it's your channel and you can do with it as you please, but from one artist to another, I hope you'll understand how it can hurt my business. I love your art and it's obvious you're very talented. You've got an incredibly unique style. I've never seen anything like it. I hope you understand my request, and I hope you don't think I'm angry. Things like this happen all the time. I figure it's just a coincidence. Thank you, Emily. And Shannon responded, sorry man, I watched Lehman Raptor on YouTube and she has a series titled the same name and she gave me a go-ahead. I'll just label them as Storytime since that's all it is, but I appreciate you letting me know your concern. Looking into it, there are quite a few accounts using the same name for similar series, kind of like Get Ready For Me for beauty YouTubers almost. I think at the very least you might have started a trend, which is commendable. Sorry I made you uncomfortable in any way, my dude.
After this, Emily finds out that Anthony is with Shannon, and Anthony continues to harass her, but Emily chooses not to tell Shannon about the situation. Emily details how she found out it was Anthony that had been doing all of this by sending him a link with a hidden IP address tracker that led her straight to him as the source. Emily claims that Shannon started to be roped into the stalking and harassment and became a mastermind with her partner Anthony.
Now, after the Twitter incident where Andrew accused me of supposedly buying subs, I was very suspicious that my stalker up until that point had been Andrew. So I laid out a trap where I sent one of these profiles a link pretending to be another like separate hater of mine. And on that link, I attached an IP tracker. And because we had mutual friends, I knew exactly where Andrew and Shannon lived. So I sent over the bait, he clicked on the link, and wouldn't you know it, the IP address took me directly to where they were living. It was definitely Andrew in the beginning. Like, I really think Andrew just roped Shannon into this mean girl obsession with me, and Shannon kind of became the mastermind over time. I could see the transition from Andrew into Shannon. Now, whereas Andrew was more kind of threatening and domineering, not that Shannon wasn't, not that Shannon didn't love to make vague threats against me, Shannon was more catty and mean girl. Future Emily here again. I know you're probably thinking, how do you know all these comments and DMs and things are coming from Shannon and Anthony? How do you know they're not just regular hate comments? The part of the art community that I belong to, you know, with Monique and Bailey and Hello Alice and Doodle Date, Super Ray Dizzle, Casey Golden, Ace of Clay, I could go on and on. That part of the art community I feel is a generally really positive one. It doesn't mean we don't have our fair share of drama sometimes. It doesn't mean that we don't have hate comments. They just look different from, say, the gaming community or even the art commentary community. Let me put it this way. When Shannon was preoccupied with something else, probably traumatizing another creator, it was very easy to tell because I would get far few comments wanting me to go check out Creepshow Art because she's copying me. I get far few comments telling me, hey, look, I've got all your videos archived. I'd get far few comments being like, you're a neglectful mother, or you're you're trying to shove your kids down our throats. I'd get far few comments that start with, does anyone else hate when Emily does blank? Because these comments always came in clusters, and the accounts that they came from were usually pretty barren. Maybe they'd have a couple playlists here and there, extra points if that account came into existence within a month of commenting. Not only that, but I'm sure you've already been able to tell that Anthony has a very specific way that he types, a very specific way that he phrases things. He likes to wax poetic with a hint of trolling in there. Shannon is typically a lot more long-winded. She likes to make a lot of excuses to try to cover her bases.
After a while, Emily Artful then decides to confront Shannon, and I'll link her video in the description for the full conversation, but I will try and cut up a summary here for the sake of clarity, as I do think that this exchange is very important and almost the climax of this whole situation.
Are you the one that's been stalking me? Or is it Andrew? We can be candid now because I know it's one of you. Those fake accounts you've been making have led me right to Oregon. I suspected it was him at first when he went on a spree on his main account on Twitter, trying to convince my followers I bought my subscribers and my views. Almost immediately after he did that, a mysterious new Twitter account accused me of the same thing, also with an IP from that area in Oregon. When I first started to get harassed, you both must still have been in San Jose, because that IP came from somewhere in San Jose. But at the time, I had no idea who it was. But now, over time, in order to protect myself and my family, I decided to get smarter. So I just really don't know if it's you or him. Either way, I've been giving all this information to the police, including the more accurate IP from that Lily Singh account. All I ask is to be left alone by you and your boyfriend. It's been 8 years. Shannon says, look, honestly, I'm sorry from what you've gone through. I don't know you all that well, but accusing us of doing shit we don't know about isn't cool. Like, Andrew already told me that you thought he did it, and honestly, I didn't worry about it because it didn't seem like that big of a deal. None of this was my business, and Andrew told me about how you were harassed back in the day, so I just thought it was another one of those anime fanboys who wanted attention. Again, he thought it was funny. They had sent him shit, and we don't have the time to mess with you, honest to God. We've been homeless on and off, working shitty jobs, and working on our art a lot. Like, we don't have time to obsess over you and your really cute family. I want to say no offense, but that's not offensive. Shannon continues, I get where you're coming from with the accusation. I've been harassed by a girl who catfished me for about 12 years now. I find that really interesting because 4 months after this, she made her I was stalked, for 8+ years story time. I know exactly how long I have been stalked by you, Shannon. I think it's weird that you put 8+ in your title when you tell me 12 years. Why wouldn't you just say, I have been stalked for 12 years in your title? I don't know. I just thought that inconsistency was interesting. Shannon continues, I can't really explain why Andrew is as random as he is, though. That one's a mystery. I think he just thought it would be funny. It wasn't, but he'd never intentionally try to hurt you. He's got a lot of respect for you. You've collaborated with him in his music. You know how important that is to him. He's not the type of person who lets someone in like that and then switches on him, If that makes sense. I feel like it does. I don't know. I said, I'm going to be filing a restraining order. I just have too much evidence to believe otherwise. I will not be pressing any charges because, like I said, I don't want to hurt or ruin anyone's lives. I'm just a little afraid now that I'm a mother. I want to protect my children and my family at any cost. The restraining order will prevent Andrew and you by association of IP from contacting me, but that's okay because we don't really need to talk anyway. So if it's not you, you have nothing to worry about because a private investigator will locate the address and the new IP. And if it's not you guys, then the hunt continues. Here's where I start to show a little bit of doubt and weakness, and she just totally pounces on it. I said, look, if I'm wrong, please forgive me. I know I seem crazy, but it's been 8 years of harassment, and I have an obligation not only to myself, but to my children. That's why I've done nothing up until this point. I didn't care that it was just happening to me, but my kids are my whole life. Shannon said, no, I completely understand. I said, I'm sorry. I know I sound insane if you really have nothing to do with this, but I just have to go with my gut. Again, if it's really not you guys, then that will prove itself. Shannon said, do what you need to do, but it isn't me. It isn't Andrew. That's all I can vouch for. If anything, he's more confused as to why you think it's him when he had you in a video while you were being harassed, and he got shit from it, Shannon says, and I feel ya. I really do. I get where you're coming from on this, but no one here has the time to mess with you. I said, yeah, I promise you there are things that don't make sense to me either. There are several things that make me think it's not Andrew, but there are just a lot of uncanny coincidences, and it may just be that, coincidences. But this is the route I've decided to take, and the truth is, even though I'm mostly convinced, I still respect his intelligence, his art, your intelligence, your art, your lives. I don't want to get in anyone's way. I just want to make stupid art videos for my internet friends. I want to live in peace. I can take the hate, but I can't take the fear of losing my job and not being able to support my kids or losing my kids. Shannon said, honestly, there's no way for me to prove it's not me, but it'll sort itself out. No, I completely understand that point. You have a family. As someone who's sensitive issues, that's a huge deal for me. I would never try to hurt someone like that, but there is no way you can actually know that for sure, because you don't know me. And then because of what she mentioned, I start to soften a little bit, to have some sympathy for her. And I say, yeah, I know, Shannon. I know you don't. And I'm sorry. I really am sorry. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. But I just have to do this. When I first suspected Andrew, I actually worried about you. Part of me wanted to reach out to make sure you were okay, but I wasn't sure what was real or what wasn't. Shannon said, all I know is that he has too much respect for you to do that. I don't know you well enough to spend that much time on it. And you need to do what's right for you. No, I completely understand. If I thought your partner was doing that, I'd probably want to reach out too. You don't have to be sorry. I understand. I completely get it. When I was going through shit, I once accused my sister of being behind it, so I understand.
So we can see here that Shannon is actually being really receptive to everything that Emily is saying. She's being very nice, which is another pattern that I'm seeing with creators coming out with their stories about Shannon, is that she's always very loving and kind in DMs and makes herself out to be a very lovely person. But it is very interesting that as soon as Emily brought up the restraining order and Shannon even agreed to it, by Emily's account, all of the harassment stopped after this exchange. So in light of all this information, I want to revisit Shannon's alibi for the Lolcow posts, her alleged stalker Amy. Now usually if someone were to tell me they were being stalked and harassed, I would be inclined to believe them. But when that person's also been posting for years in the third person on anonymous forums, I have a little bit of an inclination to doubt them. Amy might have been real at some point in time, and Shannon's been talking about having a stalker in a story time in the past, but it seems almost too easy to just use this as a scapegoat to get out of all of these Lolcow posts. Not only does Shannon not provide any evidence to back her claims, but she further does sort of give in to the evidence that it is her IP address. She just says that it wasn't her using it, meaning that this Amy would have to be an incredible hacker with so much time on her hands, as repeatedly using someone else's IP address over years and years to make posts on an anonymous forum seems like a very futile reason to be using that level of stealth and skill, in my opinion. It's also worth noting that Emily Artful has actually talked about this situation before on Twitter, writing in a thread that she'd been stalked relentlessly for a decade, and around this time Emily confronted Shannon about the stalking in DMs. Just days later, Shannon then posted her video saying that she'd been stalked for 8+ years by Amy. Emily replied to a thread on Twitter saying that she posted that video after I privately confronted her and accused her of stalking me. I think she made that video to discredit me if I ever came forwards. People would claim that I was just copying her. So this is convoluted and messed up on so many levels, and again, both Emily and Shannon are presenting a similar story about a stalker. It just so happens that Emily has presented far more evidence that gives hers more validity, in my opinion. All speculations around Amy are just that. They are my own speculations, but I did want to bring it up as I find it interesting to consider how Amy might be another way of Shannon trying to discredit Emily Artful. The last person I wanted to talk about in relation to this situation is Ready to Glare. Ready to Glare is a commentary YouTuber who was friendly with Creepshow Art. A couple of days ago, she posted a video addressing the ever-evolving Creepshow Art situation. The video starts with a story that had happened in the past where the Lolcow admins had been correct about tracing someone that she knew's IP address back to them, showing that Lolcow moderators have not only revealed but also been right about revealing the people behind the anonymous posts before. She then goes on to talk about her own experiences with Shannon.
Later on, I find out via Shannon that people are alleging that she's posting this vile shit about her friends on Lolcow. She tells me that it's someone impersonating her and spoofing her IP address. So she's not the one, there's someone pretending to be Shannon. That was the narrative. She'd been my close friend for years, and I didn't understand much about how IPs worked and spoofing and what's possible versus what's not possible versus what happens all the time. I was inclined to believe her because she was a friend of mine. For me, it was very much a real friendship offline. I met her in real life before the pandemic. We sent each other gifts. We both shared personal experiences that we'd had with each other that are private. You know, like we had a very real friendship. So my inclination was to believe her because I'm not going to run to believe that a friend is shit-talking me on a website. I don't think anyone who really trusts their friends would do that.
When the initial Lolcow posts were revealed, Ready to Glare actually took to Twitter to defend Shannon, screenshotting Shannon's community post about Amy and circling it on Twitter. Ready to Glare goes on to say that she did this because she initially believed Shannon as someone who'd known her as a friend and that she'd since changed her mind. It's also worth noting that Shannon had been posting about Ready to Glare on Lolcow, and once the admins confirmed that it was Shannon, this gave Ready to Glare reason to believe that it had all come from Shannon.
Shannon didn't volunteer much information at all because I just wanted to find evidence. Of course, I was hoping that for some reason she'd be innocent. Of course, nobody wants or hopes for their friends to be guilty. But the core thing was I wanted to find evidence. So if she was guilty, I knew she was guilty. And if she was innocent, I knew she was innocent. But at least I knew and had concrete evidence to make my conclusion, as opposed to just running to one side or the other immediately, which is what I really wanted to avoid doing. This is the part where a group of friends that Shannon and I had in common, some of which who were also mentioned in these threads, decided to make a group chat. In this group chat, we were basically discussing ways in which to try to find more evidence, no matter what that evidence was, whether it was good or bad. Like I said, we just wanted to find evidence so we could come to a conclusion, also in order for our own selves to be able to have some kind of closure and decide, okay, I think this or I think that. So that was the entire point, aside from obviously just supporting each other through a really weird and strange time. And also I'd like to add, the reason why a lot of us were silent was exactly because we were searching for this evidence and we didn't want to put out misinformation, and we wanted to wait to see what we could find before just talking about it and having to constantly post video updates or corrections. We just wanted to put the right version out and have that be that. So as of now, I'm not here to give you the innocent or guilty verdict. All I'm going to say is the Lolcow admin confirmed her post. The last time it happened to me, it was true. And I believe that that is the most concrete information we have. And I believe she did make those posts.
Personally, what I got from this video was mainly the fact that people who are close to Shannon now have a solid enough reason to believe that the Lolcow posts were indeed from Shannon herself. And this of course starts the whole endless spiral of allegations and things that people are finding out about themselves that have sprung off of this. It's not nice for anyone to read hurtful things about themselves online, but for a lot of the people that Shannon was posting about on Lolcow, they were people who considered her a friend or who she'd been really kind to online. So it's very sudden and very confusing for a lot of people to suddenly see her true colours come through. This is a hard video to conclude because it is an ever-evolving situation, and I've been up for about 48 hours trying to consolidate it all, and I've almost no doubt that something new will be posted tomorrow. As of right now, I can only go off the evidence that's been provided online, and a lot of it is looking pretty damning, even if we just go by the Lolcow post alone. It points to this YouTuber who people once really trusted as a voice of reason, as someone who is straight up just being a terrible person online for no good reason. I think that websites like lolcow.farm will always be a melting pot for drama and upset, so it's almost inevitable that it's blown up in Shannon's face. But she seems so far into it that it almost became a lifestyle from what we can see from these posts. I will, as always, link all of my sources below if you want to read into any more of the specifics. Please do not send hate to anyone mentioned in this video. If you have thoughts to air, please air them in the comment section. I have, as always, been your Uncle Herman. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you very soon in my next video.